welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars since 2010, so you don't have to, in the desperate hunt for points. And it's 2014, it is round 10, the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim, and you come to us off the back of 4 fairly decent races now, dating back to Monaco. We had 2 13th places in Monaco and Canada, though Canada could have been points. Austria, we finished a dizzying 11th spot. Could have been points. And in Britain, we ended up finishing 14th. But once again, could have been points. We're on quite the run, fortunately, at this point of the season, which is kind of exactly when we need it to be. We'll be choosing our driver rival soon in a best-of-7 showdown, and we're at the moment 17th in the standings, while our teammate Kobayashi is down in last, and we're really now just trying to hold on to spots in the standings. Let's take a look at those standings before we talk about the German Grand Prix. As I said, 17th, but we are ahead of both Lotus cars of Maldonado and Grosjean, and both Marussias of Chilton and Bianchi, with Kobayashi down in last. Only one other driver has yet to score points, that's Jean-Eric Vergne. He's just ahead of us. Well, at the top end of things, it is an all-silver affair. Hamilton leads Rosberg by 59, with Vettel in third, just ahead of Fernando Alonso and Daniel Ricciardo. Raikkonen's in 6th, then it's Hülkenberg. Magnussen, Button and Bottas rounding out your top 10. That's a really nice fight from 6th down to 10th. Perez isn't too far off that in 11th. Then it's Felipe Massa, Daniel Kvyat, Adrian Sutil, who scored points at Silverstone, and Esteban Gutierrez, before you get to us 0 points crew. And in the Constructors, Mercedes, given the title now, they are well ahead of Red Bull, who are holding a decent margin to Ferrari, who are holding a decent margin to McLaren. Then there's a little battle there between McLaren, Force India and Williams, I'd say, are still in that. Toro Rosso 7th, that is Sauber in 8th. We are 9th, just ahead of Lotus and Marussia. And it is the German Grand Prix of 2014. I might be incorrect in saying, and I should have checked this before I pressed record, that this was the last German Grand Prix for a little while. There was a couple of seasons off, and then it disappeared before coming back, and then disappeared again after COVID, unfortunately. So Hockenheim has been a happy hunting ground of the 2 German Grand Prix that we've run in Nürburgring. Certainly had, I think, better results at Hock than we have at Nerbs, and it's going to be interesting to see how we manage to do here. Like I said, we are on quite the little run at the moment. Yeah, no 15, no 17. So I think it was Nürburgring dropped off and Hockenheim remained. So it has been, I don't know, a happy hunting ground, Hockenheim, and I'd really like that to continue here. But this car, down on power, lots of straights, really spending most of our time defending. We should probably see then just how far off the back of the field we're going to be. To do that, we need to go and do some practice. While we do, we'll talk about the real world. 2014 German Grand Prix. Formula One returned to Hockenheim after a year away for the German Grand Prix, after the FIA had banned the front and rear interconnected suspension systems, or FRICS as it was dubbed, a system used to great effect by the all-conquering Mercedes. The banning of FRICS seemed to not slow down the Silver Arrows in first practice, however, as the duelling Mercs found themselves top as usual, Rosberg leading Hamilton, though the Brit didn't have a smooth session as he reported a loss of power early doors. Alonso would once again occupy third for Ferrari. Second practice would end in similar fashion for Mercedes, Hamilton leading Rosberg ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. However, many were told to cool their cars in sweltering heat, Rosberg's brakes smoking while Kobayashi suffered a small fire which required attention. There was a familiarity to the top 3 in the final practice session, as it was a repeat of the top 3 from the first session, Rosberg ahead of Hamilton and Alonso, though Rosberg would end the session over half a second clear of his teammate. Lewis complaining of a vibration. Qualifying saw the almost infallible Mercedes lose one of their cars early, as Lewis Hamilton, pushing to regain his advantage from the first runs, suffered a brake failure and hit the barrier in the motordrome, ending his qualifying session. He had, however, already gone quick enough to get through the first part, with Sutil, Bianchi, Maldonado, Kobayashi, Chilton and Ericsson dropping out. Q2 wouldn't deliver any major shocks, though Kimi Raikkonen would find himself out during Q2 after finding a fuel pressure problem in his Ferrari during practice, which put him on the back foot. He joined Hamilton, who didn't set a time, Button, Verne, Gutierrez and Grosjean in the eliminated pile. With one Mercedes missing in the final shootout, Rosberg would canter to pole position, his 5th of the season, while the battle raged behind. Bottas was able to continue his form and claim 2nd on the grid ahead of his teammate Massa. Kevin Magnussen impressed in 4th, ahead of the 2 Red Bulls, Alonso, Kvyat and the 2 Force Indias. The race began and was neutralised in short order. Magnussen found himself collected by a somewhat careless Felipe Massa, the Williams ending up on its roll loop on the exit of turn 1. While losing both the Williams and McLaren was good news for Hamilton, who had taken a grid penalty for a gearbox change. The resulting safety car meant he couldn't attack the slower cars as rapidly as he'd have liked. He'd also have to contend with Daniel Ricciardo's Red Bull, the Australian falling back after being held up by the opening lap scuffle. When the race restarted, the pair made short work of the slowest cars in the field. The Mercedes then following Ricciardo past Vernon Sutil before the pair caught Kimi Raikkonen. Hamilton had been losing time behind the Red Bull, so attempted to move on Ricciardo but found his path blocked by the Ferrari defending, so he had to back out. The Honey Badger then caught Raikkonen unawares and put the fin between himself and Hamilton, the Brit attempting to follow through but unable to do so. It wouldn't be long before the tyres on the Red Bull began to disintegrate, Raikkonen attempting to retake the position up the inside, but he left enough room for Hamilton to jump the pair of them, locking up and clouting the Scuderia as he went by. Hamilton would find himself in 2nd place when the lead cars began to pit, but he was some 7 seconds off the lead and was yet to pit himself. He pitted on lap 27, knowing he only had one more stint to run, but it began to unravel just a few laps later. As the Mercedes ranged in on the rear of Jenson Button's McLaren, Hamilton mistakenly believing that his former teammate was ceding position to the far superior Merc while conserving his tyres, Button took a wide line into Spitzker, which Hamilton read as an open door, but it was too late, and when it became apparent that Button wasn't letting him through, he collected the McLaren, tearing the left side of his wing off in the process. Hamilton knew he'd made a mistake, waving at Button as he passed on the next lap in apology, but it would prove costly to his strategy. The front tyres were now wearing at an alarming rate, Mercedes surrendering to the inevitable and calling him in to pit once again. This should have given Hamilton a tyre advantage to attack Bottas later on in the race, but once again the cards didn't fall for Mercedes as Sutil spun at the final corner and beached his Sauber. Merck immediately called Hamilton back in, expecting a safety car that never came. At the front, Rosberg was untroubled and took another victory to extend his championship lead, while also becoming the first German driver to win the German Grand Prix in a German car. Bottas would hold out for 2nd in the Williams, being the first driver to beat a Mercedes on merit all season. Hamilton would still come home in 3rd, underlining the dominance of the silver cars despite his issues through the race. The top 10 would be completed by Vettel, Alonso, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Button, Magnussen and Perez. Can we hope to spring a surprise in Germany? Well, our last few races have been pretty good for a Caterham, but qualifying has still been quite the battle. If practice is anything to go by, despite the wet conditions, we're not going to have a fun time. The aim really has to be staying off the back row. So it's a really lowly 20th place that we're aiming for, but it's going to have to be quite the lap to even be able to pull that off.
We don't need to push too hard in this session. We should have the pace to qualify easily.
Third race in a row where engineer Andy has been very optimistic about our chances, and every one of those races we finished down near the back, so I don't think it's going to be very different here. But the German Grand Prix, this Hockenheim circuit is so much fun to drive. Practice didn't really tell us anything because it was heavy rain and we were well off the pace. Hopefully, dry conditions in qualifying, we might be able to be close to the field. But the only way we're going to know if that's the case is by getting out there and getting some laps in. Let's see if we can move slightly forwards in Germany. And then our fastest lap in qualifying here in Germany. Already on the back foot, as you can see, cars rack up faster laps. A little wide through the first corner, but not too bad. Get on the DRS nice and early, and it's heavy onto the brakes. A little wide, missed the apex by quite a margin actually, but swing it back in before heading up this long back straight towards the hairpin. We are nearly 0.3 of a second down on our best lap, so it's not been the best start, but maybe we can make it up in the middle. It's just waiting to get on the brakes here as you get up to the hairpin, and there we are, heavy, again a little wide, a little locked up, but we do manage to get on the power fairly early out of the hairpin. And let's gun it down towards the Mercedes grandstand. Car running on fumes, hoping that'll give us a little bit of a speed advantage, much better through the apex there, even if a little touch too wide on exit, but that's not too bad at all as we head towards the stadium section, and we're marginally up on our best time so far. Run the inside curve nicely, run it out to the outside as well, and we're into this cambered hairpin up in the grandstand. Use that camber to throw the car around before heading out towards these final right-handers. Don't go too wide there on the drag strip. Take a liberal approach to the final corner. We'll gun it for the line, and we make a half-second improvement at least.
That's qualifying over for us. We were hoping for better. You're starting in 22nd tomorrow.
And much like most of the rest of the season, 22nd place is where we start. Some 1.2 seconds off Kamui Kobayashi, who's in 21st, and Chilton, Bianchi, Sutil and Gutierrez. So 2x2 at the back, Saber, Marussia, Caterham. Once again, just AI qualifying in this game. It's just super overpowered, and then we have a slightly better time of it in the race. Hopefully we can do that once again, because we've been having quite the run of it. Hockenheim as well, a circuit that really does promote overtaking. That first few corners is going to be super interesting on lap 1. So let's cross over to the race and see what happens. In the garage then for the German Grand Prix of 2014, we are 22nd and last, as we have been for large portions of this season. Just a simple case of the AI in qualifying being rocket ships and us not. So we are starting on the back foot, but at a circuit that I enjoy. And we'll talk about the race in just a second, but let's take a look at the grid order. Sebastian Vettel doing what Lewis Hamilton did last time out and taking a home pole position in the Red Bull. Hamilton second, with Ricciardo in third, then it's Button and Alonso ahead of Rosberg, having a bad day in the other Mercedes. Bottas is seventh with Magnussen, Hülkenberg and Raikkonen completing the top 10. Massa is 11th with Perez, Kvyat, Verne, Grosjean and Maldonado make it through into Q2. All of a sudden, Lotus beef is now pretty strong. We really need to be jumping those guys. Gutierrez is 17th with Sutil, Bianchi, Chilton, Kobayashi and ourselves, bringing up the rear of the grid. And as I say, this is a really fun place to drive. German Grand Prix at Hockenheim's been fairly kind to us so far in this series. Nürburgring not so much. But I feel like we are starting to just slip backwards. We took 14th last time out. Could have been better. 13th at Monaco, 13th at Canada, and 11th back at Austria. So knocking on the door of the points, but also spending a lot of time kind of defending for our lives. That and being in the points in all of those races. And fighting for that 1 point that we really, really desperately want, and then losing it. Whether we're going to really have that opportunity here remains to be seen, but I'm not entirely convinced, if I'm honest. So the target for this one is P16. See if we can leap the Lotuses and beat the Marussias, Kobayashi, and maybe just somebody else. Maybe a retiree more than anything else. Got to make up places up towards the hairpin on lap 1. That's really where it's going to be won and lost in terms of beating our target, or, you know, scoring that one valuable coveted point, especially if the AI have some shenanigans through the first lap, which, you know, can happen. And this feels like it could be a circuit where that could possibly happen in the opening lap. But that we've got to go out and see. So let's head to the grid for the 2014 German Grand Prix. Vettel on pole. There's Kobayashi. And there we are. Good start here. And pep talk from engineer Andy. Will try and build the revs gently as the 5th red light comes on, and away we go in Germany. It didn't hold for long, and that actually wasn't too bad a start whatsoever. We're already almost alongside Kobayashi, but the AI as usual getting a better second phase. We tag Sutil a little bit there. The gap just narrowed rapidly as we squeeze out Bianchi. We're getting covered in dust and debris and dirt. We have to kind of take slightly avoiding action and more avoiding action, this time with Sergio Perez. Raikkonen's just ahead of us. Maldonado's behind us. We've managed to jump both the Lotuses. Maldonado to our inside. We're going to let him go and then dive him at the hairpin. Can we make a move on Raikkonen? It'd be a late one if we did. Force the Ferrari to the outside, but then Perez gets to our inside. We could dive Perez down at the Mercedes grandstand. We can't. P11 though. Ahead of the Iceman. So it's an alright first lap that so far. Raikkonen looking a spot you really don't want to be trying to overtake. We'll end the first lap, I think, in P11. Which is something.
We think it'll stay dry for the whole race.
Let's take a little down the brake into turn 1. That kind of blocked off Raikkonen. Maldonado's with us still. Vettel still leading as well. It's good for him, considering as he's had a pretty torrid season so far. But we've lost Perez. We now lead that secondary queue. It's a little bit split, but not massively. Very much looks like we're going to face an onslaught here. Magnussen with DRS. Raikkonen as well. Very much like the last race at Silverstone, we stay to the inside and we're able to on the brakes late enough to go up the inside at the hairpin. Raikkonen now behind us. Hamilton has taken the lead up at the front, I think. A little wide into the stadium section.
To gain a speed advantage if you need to get past someone.
Raikkonen gets past us, but we'll get to the inside at the hairpin there. There goes Raikkonen to the outside. Are we going to be close enough to send it up at the hairpin? I think we are, as Magnussen attempted to go through as well. Magnussen gets the up and under on Raikkonen. Verne almost does as well. We hold P11 for now. It really does feel like it's a matter of time at the moment. Magnussen, Verne, there's another car there as well. Not sure who it is. It wasn't a Ferrari. Raikkonen's actually fallen way down there. Managed to hold everybody off once again. Magnussen spooked me a little bit. He held him off, but Raikkonen steamrolled his way through. Follows us in. Magnussen stays out. Gutierrez stays out. Kvyat stays out. There'll be a couple more as well. Obviously Kobayashi. One of the Marussias will stay out as well.
Exit now.
Getting ahead of Kimi Raikkonen.
Be careful not to drive over the white line when coming out of the pits or you'll get a penalty.
Once again, we run a little wide into the stadium section. Get Raikkonen out of the hairpin.
We're running just ahead of where we expected to be. Keep pushing.
We'll send through the final corner to try and make sure we don't lose too many spots. 13th, we're jumped by Magnussen and one other. That one other has he pit? Magnussen should now streak away from us. Romain Grosjean now the man behind us. I think that's the other Lotus there as well. No, that's Gutierrez. Switch places, Raikkonen have lost out a little bit. It was Maldonado that stayed out long. He's in the pits now. We'll just about jump the Lotus back into P12.
We're doing really well. 6 places up on where we expected to finish.
A little bit of a gap for Gutierrez to go. Raikkonen thought about it, but was convinced otherwise. Stay in 12th. Gutierrez up the inside. There's a little bit of contact, nudges us onto the gravel. Big send into the hairpin, which works just to maintain that P12.
Prime tyres confirmed for next pit stop.
Grosjean one way, Raikkonen the other. There's not a huge amount I can do about the Ferrari until we get to the hairpin. I basically come to a complete stop though, trying to get back up the inside of him. Raikkonen back through. Can we get him at the Mercedes grandstand? It'd be a hell of a send if we did, and we don't. So much like Perez earlier in the race, he's managed to jump past. 13th. Still a long queue of cars behind me. Out for blood. The leader's nowhere in sight to start putting laps on people and slowing them down.
Raikkonen will be stopping in 3 laps time. Raikkonen stopping in 3 laps time.
Grosjean follows me in. Interesting to see who else stays out. Bottas is leading. Down to 19th at the moment. Onto the primes, away we go. Now we're a lap down.
There's some traffic at the pit exit. Watch out as you rejoin the track. Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Hamilton behind us. 4th place at the moment, I think it said. That's likely due to pit stops. Bottas, I think, was the man in the lead last time we saw. Allow Hamilton in on the inside.
3+ gap to the car behind. 3+.
Lead car coming through.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Ricardo. I think that's probably Fernando Alonso.
Be aware, we think the car behind is trying to save fuel.
Managed to, I think, just jump Kobayashi. Yeah, Fernando Alonso there. Grosjean right behind him. We have to get out of his way. I think this is where the race unravels for us in terms of scoring a 12th, 13th place result with the difference in tyre strategies. We'll see. Keep pushing as always. Vern heading out. It is indeed Vern heading out the pits. Can we send it? Yes, we can. That'll pull us back up to P17. 17 seconds up the road. I assume he's got a pit stop to do shortly.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Force India behind us. That are Nico Hülkenberg, who's now 4th. Having a good home Grand Prix there with Force India.
The guys have run the numbers. Grosjean will be pitting within the next 3 laps.
Really back off to let Hulk through.
Good job, back up to speed.
Almost compromises us to Grosjean. Oh, but then we run wide and we've lost both those positions. Quite, we stay ahead of Vern, but Grosjean's jumped us. There's Jules Bianchi, much like Vern the last lap. Having to kind of send it from a bit of a distance. There is some contact. Back up to P17 now.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Vettel trying to come through. Past Bianchi. Maldonado jumped us as well, because he's currently in front of us instead of Grosjean. Rosberg's still 6th, having a bad day. Not to get in Mercedes' way. We've got Bottas behind us now. Wide for Bottas. There's a bit of contact. We're trying to not let Bianchi through. That's the problem we have. But also let Bottas lap us. That is Valtteri Bottas, so that's good.
1 second. We think the car behind is running on full revs.
Back off in the DRS. The other Williams of Felipe Massa. Right behind us now as well. Come on, Felipe.
Conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Vern has jumped Bianchi, so he's behind us now.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Let's get lapped once again, this time by Jenson Button, who we back off and get sideswiped by as he passes us on the inside. Force India with Perez now should be all over us quite quickly. Right out the Mexicans' way. He had a look into turn one. Spooked himself. Sutil nearly made it past. At least he passed Bianchi, nearly made it past us, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, it is. That was Romain Grosjean.
He's running on full revs. He's trying to close the gap.
He's pitted in and come out ahead of us.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Massa's now behind us as he's pitted in as well.
You've picked up some marbles. Expect reduced grip until you can wear them off. Stay on the racing line. Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Magnussen behind us. Come on. There we go. Got the Dane through.
Blue conditions no longer apply.
Tried not to lose too much time, but just seemed very reluctant to go by. Yankee in with us. Sutil, Chilton, Kobayashi, they all go by. We might struggle avoiding last place here, I feel.
You're free to rejoin the track. The track is clear. You have no more scheduled
Option
pit
tyres
stops,
to the end.
so look after your tyres.
Maybe that will work in our favour. Little clutch of cars are in. Kobayashi's one of them. Just about get back round Vern for 17th. Only just.
You're now in 17th.
Looking out, Vern can just out-drag us towards the hairpin. Go for the move around the outside. There is a bit of contact. Stay in front of the Frenchman though. Very wide. Vern's going to have a look. He'll stay to the inside at the hairpin. He will hold the position.
You need to let the car behind you pass. He's not racing you for position.
Well, we are going to get lapped twice here. Lewis Hamilton goes through, so that's going to save us just a little bit of time. In this race, fuel was also marginal, so that's also going to help. Looks like the Ferrari there, I assume of Fernando Alonso. Kimi Raikkonen, the man in P12 lapping us. We were fighting with him at the start of the race. Kimi goes through. onto our final lap then of what's been pretty miserable German Grand Prix. We seem to have, pace-wise, taken a nosedive off a cliff. Comprehensively beaten by basically everybody. We've got a little clutch of cars behind us that can still ruin our day more. Until there being one of them, I think Vern's with him too, so we've just got to try and stay in front of them for the final few corners. Lewis Hamilton's going to take a commanding victory here and extend his championship lead again. Mercedes surely already on the cusp of the constructors, even just after round 10. Such is their dominance. But we were on the fringes of the points early doors, but we've just been under attack the entire race. There we go, Lewis Hamilton does take the win once again. As we round the final corner to take a fairly disappointing P17 in Germany. All 22 finished that one. We finished 17th, the first of the cars. 2 laps down, we're ahead of Vern, Sutil, Bianchi, Chilton, Kobayashi, who also did not have a good day of it, but as you can see, a second off his pace. Quite a distance off anybody else pace-wise as well, as usual. At the top end of things, though, Hamilton wins from Vettel and Rosberg third again. He's losing more ground. Fernando Alonso's fourth with Ricciardo in fifth, Bottas sixth. Then it's Massa, Hülkenberg, Button, Perez, Magnussen, Raikkonen, they all lapped us. Kvyat in 13th, and it's Maldonado, Gutierrez, and Grosjean. So we're beaten by both Lotuses as well, but they haven't matched my best result yet, I don't think. What does that mean for the driver stand-ins? Lewis Hamilton is 69 nice points ahead of Rosberg, with Sebastian Vettel in third. He has finally passed the 100-point mark, as is Fernando Alonso, who's 10 points behind him. But there is a 50-point gap between Rosberg and Vettel, and a 60-point gap between Rosberg and Alonso. So it's still really a Mercedes battle at the top. Ricciardo is in fifth, 40 clear of Hülkenberg, who's jumped Raikkonen. Bottas is there in that fight, as well as Button and Magnussen, who are now level on points. You'd say Perez and probably even Massa very much in that scrap for the best of the rest. Then it's Kvyat, Sutil, Gutierrez, all with points. Then Vern, we remain 17th. Out of Maldonado, Grosjean, Chilton, Bianchi, and Kobayashi is now last. Stays last after last time out, should I say. But the constructors is a 196-point gap between Mercedes and Red Bull. Title's Mercedes, just give it a now. Ferrari are in third, well clear of McLaren Mercedes, who are only 2 clear of Force India, and Williams have now closed right up to them as well. So that battle for fourth looking pretty tasty. Toro Rosso are ahead of Sauber still, and we remain ahead of Lotus and Marussia. And I did say right back at the start of the race, while we were sat in the garage, the run's got to come to an end sometime, and it came to an end here today. It's a shame, because I really like Hockenheim, and we're going to not have a German Grand Prix in 15 in the McLaren. We're going to come back in 16 and we'll be back here, then we won't have a race again in 17. So we've got to see how we stack up when we come back as Manor in 2016. But it's not goodbye, it's just au revoir, as they say, for Germany. But a fairly dismal race, punctuated by essentially astute and very stout defence. Next up's Hungary, a circuit I really don't enjoy driving, But the way this season's gone, maybe that means we'll actually have a good race. We'll see, shall we? We are hurtling towards the flyaway areas of the season, the Singapores, the Japans, things like that. It's going to be interesting to see if we can get back on top. I say on top, at least back on our run in Hungary. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. I shall see you for the next one at the Hungaroring. Bye for now.